all the time told me, when Khabib retired, you have to take this belt. This big motivation for me.
Islam Makhachev submits Charles Oliveira to win the title!
I want to be like Khabib, champion, but still humble.
Ian Machado Garry just has that look of a champion.
We're called the Fighting Irish for a reason. Fighting is in our blood, it's in our bones, it's in our soul. I was born ready for this opportunity.
The future has arrived.
That's it.
Ian Garry! Line them up, I'll knock them out.
So all the eyeballs are on you to see if you're as good as Khabib was.
The throne remains in Mahascala!
He might be better.
I'm going to show you that the Irish are back.
He has confidence that I have not seen since Conor.
I am the future, I am inevitable.
Islam crushes people.
Everybody know about Dagestan wrestling.
And nobody can stop. Our countries have history in the game, the biggest rivalry in the sport.
You can run, but you can hide.
Islam, you're done.
He talked too much, but after this fight, he never talked about me again. I have to focus on my game plan. I don't have to think what's my opponent have. I don't want to thinking about this, I just know I have everything to defend him, and I have all skills more skills more than him. That's why when you step to the cage, you have to dictate what's gonna be happening, how it's gonna go, who is gonna forward, who is gonna go back. Champion have to control, It's just my plan. I will control. I will step to the cage and I will do my best.
Islam Makhachev continues to send waves through the MMA community, putting the entire division on notice. He remains committed to a relentless training regimen, meticulously preparing to expose every weakness. While Ian Garry's rapid rise has attracted enormous attention, Makhachev has issued a clear warning: stepping up to elite competition demands an entirely different level, and fight night could become a brutal reality check.
A lot of pressure and squeeze.
Bro, I don't
with your
know,
legs.
because this is the question. Khabib don't ride the horses. He have horses, but he don't ride the horses. But it's our team technique, I think. We have good grappling, but we're not grappler. We have good grappling, we're not grappling. We change the grappling for MMA. I think we have kind of some technique for MMA, not just grappling,
Yeah. Well,
that's why, bro, next time, don't bring this Greg Johnson to your camp, bro. Bring some Dagestani guy. He'll teach you more, bro.
Ian Garry has shown some underrated grappling defense, really good scrambles. He's obviously more of a striker, and that tends to lead to kind of what you were saying to Islam, a little bit of boring fights, right? Because that style that he has, it almost reminds me a little of Sean Strickland, that it could lead to some boring fights. But I want to see, because Islam said this, we didn't get the chance to ask him. He said with JDM that he was, I don't know if you saw him say this, but he said that fight, he knows it was boring, but he was like, I got to win, right? This is, I need to first get the welterweight. So I want to see with this one, if now he has that double champ status, is he going to try to show a little bit more stand-up? Because look what he did to Volk, right? He has those stand-up skills. So I'm curious if we see a little bit more of that with Ian Garry.
So it's going to be interesting to see how Ian Garry goes about this fight, because he is taller. I think I saw somewhere where Ian Garry's 6'3" and Islam is 5'11". I'm not sure if those stats are legit, but I saw that. So I'm like, okay, he's going to have the reach advantage. But at the end of the day, he's got to be able to get to Islam, and Islam's got to be able to get to him. So it could be a little cat and mouse game on the feet. But once he gets to the ground, Islam's going to get to that position. He's going to stay in half guard, and then he's going to look to wait for Ian Garry to turtle. So you get that choke, and then it should be curtains. But I'd be curious to see what he does after this fight, whether he wins or loses. Does he stay in the welterweight division and continue with this lifestyle of being a welterweight? Or will he be like, you know what, guys, I want to go back to lightweight. I want to test myself back down there. It'll be curious to see what option he goes with in this stage of his career at 34 years.
Islam Makhachev shared insights into his preparation with Demetrius Johnson, offering a glimpse into his training camp and the adjustments he has made to match his opponent's cardio. While incorporating specialized training, Makhachev remains committed to his core strategy, applying relentless pressure, taking the fight to the ground, and searching for a stoppage. He views his opponent as a skilled fighter but believes his flashy persona undermines his credibility. Makhachev feels his rival is trying too hard to generate hype. Unfazed by the pre-fight theatrics, metrics, the champion remains confident that fans will ultimately support him over his outspoken opponent, and he has vowed to deliver a humbling lesson once the fight begins.
Sometimes he does interviews.
Yeah. I think he's good person, good guy, but he act like he's like bad boy, something like this. But I tell in the interview also, we'll make him humble, we'll make him good guy.
As Islam Makhachev and his opponent continue their war of words, Alexander Volkanovski sees the fight playing out differently. Volkanovski believes a patient approach will serve Makhachev well and that a high-volume strategy may not be the most effective option. According to Volkanovski, Makhachev's elite grappling will be the key factor, allowing him to take control of the fight, bring his opponent to the ground, and potentially secure a submission finish.
Majority of the time he's going to be pretty safe. And if he's doing the right things, Islam won't waste too much energy going for something that's not there. But I believe he will eventually get the takedowns, and that's where he can win rounds or even get the finish. I think Islam's going to get the win. He can definitely get the submission to finish. I think he can get it to the ground. I can see Ian Garry having success in some of the, his stand-up, some of the wall work stuff. I think he will mix it up, try and stay very long and be very patient. I think he's going to have to play a boring style to be very effective and try and do it for 25 minutes, which is going to be hard. I'm going to have to go with Islam. I think he eventually gets it down. He'll win rounds because of that. And not only that, he can get the finish.
Volkanovski also believes Makhachev's opponent presents a serious challenge because of his length and ability to manage distance. However, Makhachev has recently expressed a desire to take more risk and actively pursue finishes, particularly following his fight with Jack Della Maddalena. That has led Volkanovski to question whether Islam will abandon his patient striking approach and instead force the action to the ground from the very beginning.
Garry, a very long fighter. We know he's very good with his distance. Doesn't mind fighting on the back foot. He knows people are going to press. He's really good with his footwork, going left, going right, staying long, using his kicks at range. If you get a little over aggressive, countering you, catching you on your way in, does a very good job of that. Does that work with Islam? I don't know. It depends on what Islam turns up. Islam's always been a very patient striker. He's very safe. He stays long himself. He's usually doing similar to what Ian Garry does, but we'll look for the takedown. When you get over aggressive and you come forward a little bit too aggressive, or you try and cut into range too quickly, he'll either get the takedown or he'll still run you in the shots. That's something that Islam was better than Khabib at. Khabib was very good at running you into the takedowns. Islam can run you into counter strikes as well. He loves his body kick. Islam, I'm talking about. Is this stuff that he's going to use on an Ian Garry? I don't think so. Ian Garry is going to be too long. That's what I want to see what happens with Islam. I've heard him say recently, very recently, say that he wasn't happy with his fight against JDM and he wants to take more risks. When he says that, does that mean when he gets a takedown, look for more submissions? I think that's what
Volkanovski breaks down the fight dynamics, noting that if both fighters maintain a safe distance, the longer striker will hold a clear advantage. But if Garry is drawn into pressing forward, he could be playing directly into Islam Makhachev's hand. To gain the upper hand, Garry's best strategy may be to keep the fight at long range, even if that means turning the contest into a slower-paced battle.
The feet, Ian Garry will have a bit of success and will give Islam problems. But Islam isn't going to be too aggressive there, and I think he's going to be happy with that range. I just want to know what happens when they're both sitting at a long range. Does Ian Garry want to be more effective and start to push forward? If he starts to push forward, now the takedowns are coming more easily for Islam, and then Islam might even land some of his own shots because of it. I don't think Ian Garry does his best work coming forward. Maybe when he's got you hurt and got you, hesitating and, got you figured out, and he may come forward and then and start letting his hands go and be that little bit more aggressive. I just can't see that happen. I see it being a little more both safe on the outside, which will be a little bit better for Ian Garry. Will Islam be that little bit further?
Building on Alexander Volkanovski's analysis, Shilsanen added another compelling reason why Islam Makhachev is so difficult to prepare for, regardless of how a fight unfolds. Relying solely on striking is not a viable strategy. Whether an opponent tries to maintain distance or finds himself taken down, Makhachev has consistently shown that he can hold a tactical advantage in every phase of the fight.
Reverse the roles. Let's say they're on the ground. Can Ian go with Islam? Can he compete? Can he protect himself? If the answer there is no, I'm not sure this should be a world championship fight. But the same thing would be said on the feet. You're telling me that the number one ranked fighter in the world can't fight standing up? You want to know who's a good stand-up fighter? You know who's an awesome stand-up fighter? Volkanovski. And do you want to know who beat Volkanovski in a stand-up fight? Islam. You know who's a really good stand-up fighter? Teddy Atlas has gone so far as to say the best boxer in MMA is Dustin Poirier. And do you want to know who held his own tit-for-tat with Dustin Poirier standing up? Islam. But I don't fully know what to make.
Chael Sonnen also challenged a flawed narrative in combat sports. The idea that Islam Makhachev's striking must be a weakness simply because his wrestling is world-class. While grappling remains his greatest comfort zone, assuming elite wrestling automatically means subpar striking is a false comparison. Just because Makhachev is less dominant on the feet than he is on the ground does not mean his striking is weak compared with the rest of the division.
We sure that he's a really good striker? I'm just asking that question because people seem to say yes, but they also seem just as sure that Islam, who's only lost one stand-up fight in his life, there's not a single round that has ever gone against Islam because he wasn't protecting himself, or he wasn't firing back, or because he got outclassed in striking. That has not happened. And while Islam's strength is grappling compared to himself, for himself, what does he prefer? What is he most comfortable with? He's most comfortable with grappling, but that does not mean he can't strike, but it seems to, like that narrative gets created. When a guy is overwhelming in one discipline, we then choose to believe that he's weak in other disciplines. Well, weak compared to what? Weak compared to his own grappling ability, or weak compared to the rest of the...
Aljamain Sterling explained what he believes is Islam Makhachev's most reliable path to victory. Sterling argued that pinning Garry against the fence would neutralize much of his striking and create the clearest route for Makhachev to drag the fight to the mat. To counter that, Sterling suggested Garry must make every clinch exchange as uncomfortable as possible, using legal, disruptive strikes and constant movement to break Makhachev's control before he can secure the takedown.
Tough one for Garry. Can he get the upset? Of course, his fighting. We just saw this with Gaethje and Topuria. But I would say Islam has the one shortcut way to win. Push him against the cage, take him down. And even if he presses him against the cage, I'm curious to see if Garry can do damage in the clinch. Whenever I'm in the clinch with somebody, I always tell the guys, look for your knuckles and hit the eyeball. Hit the nose, hit the soft spots that's going to make this guy uncomfortable in the clinch, not looking for his foot sweeps, where he's comfortable just resting on you, looking to set up his takedown, his next transition. And I learned this from Brian Caraway, my first pro loss in the UFC.
Tom Aspinall highlights an invisible yet potentially decisive factor behind Islam Makhachev's dominance: his overwhelming physical strength. Aspinall believes that once Makhachev gets hold of Garry, that unseen strength could become the ultimate equalizer, allowing Islam to dictate the terms of the fight regardless of Garry's speed or range advantage.
I think this is going to be Islam's toughest fight that we've seen recently. I think that stylistically, Ian Garry is a pretty bad matchup for him, to be honest. He's long, rangy, moves really well. You don't often see him getting taken down and held there. Super tall, super elusive, elite striking, judges the distance really well. He's young, he's fresh, he's not had loads of damage or anything like that. He's not got a lot of miles on the clock. But then we're talking about Islam Makhachev, mate. In my opinion, pound for pound number one, or in the argument at the minute for that. Once he gets hold of you, you're done. He's got that left head kick. People are saying, there's reports across the board, he's the strongest person that people have ever fought. Apparently he's so physically strong, which is something that you can't see on TV.
What, just from a wrestling perspective?
Yeah, I think that's something that you can't really see. I mean, when you watch an opponent, right, you can always see the speed that they move, the techniques that they use and the game plans and all that kind of stuff. What you can't see is how strong somebody is physically. I've seen multiple guys, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje and people like that saying that, like, wait, has he even fought Justin Gaethje? Don't think he has he? He mustn't. No, it must have been somebody else. Must have been somebody else. But I've seen multiple guys say how strong he is physically. And once he gets older guys, they don't seem to be able to escape. Ian Garry, though, very tough guy to get hold of, moves his feet really well, does everything good. And I think people overlook him. But mate, the guy can fight. The guy can definitely fight.
Garry escalated the mental games during his initial face-off with Islam Makhachev, aiming to establish himself as the dominant psychological force and put pressure on the pound-for-pound king. When asked about their earlier media stare-down, Garry downplayed its significance, viewing it as merely a preview of the main event. He believes the real test of mental toughness will come during the final ceremonial face-off, where he can try to assert his dominance before stepping into the octagon. Garry said he had faced off with Islam Makhachev the night before on the Rocky step with everything on display.
Ways from that, does he look like, a true welterweight now to you? And
I just kind of felt like yesterday he didn't want to be there. He didn't want to be at the face-off. I sensed a little bit of nervous energy from him, but those face-offs, they're fake. They're for social media, they're for Instagram, they're for obligations. They're not for us. The face-off that matters to me is Friday. When we've made weight, we've done all the hard work, we show up in front of the fans, and it's the last time we get to look at each other before we meet in the Octagon. That's the one.
Islam Makhachev remains completely unbothered by Ian Machado Garry's attempts to shake his confidence, dismissing the Irishman's mental games entirely. Seeing through the pre-fight posturing, Makhachev views Garry's bravado as meaningless and refuses to get dragged into a psychological back and forth. Instead, the champion remains locked into his trademark icy composure as fight night approaches. But rhetoric is about to give way to reality. The ultimate question is whether Garry's range and movement can withstand Makhachev's physical strength and suffocating grappling. With analysts offering different paths to victory, this matchup promises to reveal whether Garry truly belongs at the absolute top or whether Makhachev will add another chapter to his legendary reign. It all comes down to one question: can Garry's length hold off the grappling, or will Islam take control of the canvas?